Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Sunshine Coast is still reeling from what's being described as our storm of the century. Almost 400 millimetres of rain fell in 24 hours over the worst hit areas of the coast. The SES spent a busy night responding to more than 600 calls for help from distraught residents. But it will take days for council to assess how many homes and businesses were extensively damaged. More than 250 waterlogged cars have been towed, many of which were abandoned at the height of the storm. In the worst hit areas of Maroochydore, Alexandra Headland, Mooloolaba and Warana, the clean-up will continue over the weekend. Laura Dimmick begins our coverage where it all began yesterday afternoon when the rain caught most of us by surprise.
At 3:30, the heavens turned on the tap and Maroochydore filled up. The rain fell hard and fast. It created rapids on the roads and chaos at peak hour. Within minutes, streets were flooded and impassable. It didn't stop dozens of drivers taking the risk. Others gave up and got out. There was traffic gridlock across the coast. The storm system drove down from the north and parked over the region. There was flash flooding from Caloundra to Coolum. The airport was closed. People were evacuated from their homes and businesses. The Swiftwater rescue crew had more than 100 requests for help. At this Mooloolaba childcare centre, parents plucked their children to safety.
I'm just worried about the children, just trying to get the children out, making sure they're safe.
It was one of the first businesses to go under. Many more would follow. Curious locals strode into the water, their cameras in hand. Residents watched and recorded as their yards and streets were transformed.
This is insane.
And still, it kept coming. At the storm's core, the average March rainfall total fell in just 2 hours. The ground was already saturated. It couldn't take any more. Retaining walls gave way. Torrents of water filled car parks. Businesses on Alexandra Parade fought a battle they couldn't win. They never saw it coming.
Oh my God, it happened in like an hour, Benny? Yeah. Within an hour, it was flooded.
The aftermath will take much longer to fix, and no one was spared. Stock was moved to higher ground, but most knew they were too late. They could do little but watch, a phenomenon many won't see again in their lifetime. Laura Dimmick, 7 News.
As night fell, the rain continued to bucket down. At Alexandra Headland, the water rose and fell in an hour, with local businesses wasting no time starting the clean-up. At Cotton Tree, the water inundated homes and remained high for most of the night. Nicklin Way was closed, leaving dozens of peak-hour motorists stranded near Warana. Sigrid Brown was there as the extent of the damage was revealed.
In just 15 minutes, water gushed into shops on Alexandra Parade.
We could have done the swim leg for the triathlon along here. It was that deep. It was insane.
It got up to our knees and it went up to about the tables.
It was a double whammy.
Come in from both ways. Come in from this way and from the back over the overflow from the flood lakes.
Businesses scrambled to save stock and computers.
At least all the surfboards are good. They're waterproof.
But the water caused thousands of dollars worth of damage.
It was pretty much under. It was pretty much like, yeah. I don't know if it will start again.
Quite shocked. I've lived here all my life and I've never seen Alex Parade go underwater.
The clean-up was only just beginning.
I think there's a lot of water in the walls and our bathroom wall has collapsed.
At Mooloolaba, Swiftwater rescue crews were kept busy.
Escorting people out of the homes as the water's coming up, just so they can stay ahead of the water so they're not in danger, isolating power from that building and just getting them to higher ground.
While businesses started assessing the damage.
Floor's ruined and yeah, we'll have to relay that.
Residents and business owners say the rain fell so hard and fast that they had no time to prepare. In Mooloolaba, the water rose and then fell in under an hour, but here at Cotton Tree, the water's remaining high.
A handful of homes near the sports field were inundated.
Just kept coming up and coming up. No stopping, just, relentless.
The car parks under apartments near 6th Avenue bore the brunt of the deluge. 8 cars were still parked under here. But those parked above ground weren't spared either. The SES tried to limit the damage.
I've been here for 25 years and it's never been like this.
Water in shops on Aerodrome Road also took hours to subside. The road was covered. At Warana, Nicklin Way was closed. Some drivers disobeyed the warning signs.
Because the cars were going so fast, they were making waves. You can see the cars that floated down the street. Too many people went through when it was really deep.
Many abandoned their cars as water rose. Some were forced to seek refuge at service stations.
3 hours from Wisest Road to here.
I'm hungry. I'd like to go home and get something to eat, but just common sense says, you know, you have to wait.
Isolated businesses on Main Drive tried to remain in high spirits.
This is Main River.
With traffic gridlocked, some chose alternative transport. Bikes were popular at Bundilla.
No point in driving. Everyone's stuck.
Nearby businesses had to wait until the rain stopped.
It was lapping the door, and then about a minute later, we were ankle deep in water.
Before they could act.
We can't really do anything. We've been trying to find some sandbags, but there's none around.
Hoping with daylight they could assess the full extent of the damage. Sigrid Brown, 7 News.
The clean-up is now well underway across flood-affected parts of the Sunshine Coast. Residents are counting the cost of the torrential downpour. Some are uninsured with nowhere to go.
Maroochydor's streetscape looked almost untouched this morning. But in the storm zone, underground car parks were awash. Rushing to get to the Catalina Towers flooding basement, manager Jeff Cullen splash-landed in the lift.
Of course, the doors opened, the water poured in and pressed the button to take the lift up and out of it, but frightening. It's absolutely frightening.
Pumps just couldn't keep up.
There was stuff floating around everywhere.
Water gushed in from 6th Avenue.
It's come down there from the street and snapped the door in half.
The median strip was a car park. This was the alternative. Basements nearly 2 metres underwater. Tyrone Jost helped get 3 cars out before it got too risky.
You couldn't walk against it. We got knocked over numerous trams trying to get up the driveway. So we were worried because the water was getting higher to the electricity box. You had to get out of there pretty quick.
Like most of the affected apartments, Paradise Pacific was fully booked for the Mooloolaba Triathlon.
We've got no power. We're going to have to try and get the details and start ringing people because there's no way we can have any guests at this point in time.
2 doors down, residents abandoned the battle to open the gate to the car park.
Yeah, there's a BMW down there, there's a new Mazda down there, there's a couple of families that now have lost their cars. But what can you do? So it's a bit heart-wrenching because we tried everything to get it out.
The managers of the beachside resort here at Verdina rescued these cars from the basement car park, parking them here, never imagining the water would come so high, so fast.
A chair floats inside. Cars are submerged beside bins bobbing in the water.
I had that entrance there sandbagged, but once it got to the point where it was going over top of the sandbags, there was absolutely nothing I could do.
In Maroochydore, Video Easy's floor is still soaked.
I was like, oh no, we'll be fine. And then 20 minutes later, I was ankle deep in water and I was rushing around trying to put everything up. It was just like a torrent.
The Guide Dog Association's office is saturated, but they couldn't afford to stop work.
We're just trying to raise as much money as we can. We've got 3,400 people that we take care of.
Cut-and-go barbers mopped up and started clipping.
We've been here since 5 o'clock this morning and ripped all the flooring out and cleaned the place as best we can.
Will and Mac volunteered for the clean-up with their mum Leanne.
We did all up there.
The second-hand shop, Lifeline kidney shop.
From the air, a brown stain stretches out into the ocean. Canal homes have a little more waterfront.
Last night we received about 622 calls in a 4-hour period for the Sunshine Coast area.
At Alexandra Headland, Indigo Grill's grand opening's been postponed.
We were wanting to open this weekend, but I don't think that'll happen. I think maybe next week.
The force of the water tore fences down in Mooloolaba, flooding several houses.
It's buckled both of the garage doors, got water damage in the car all throughout the house.
Tanya McGregor's rented home was the worst hit in Warana.
Come through that way and through that way. It was just like a tidal wave, straight through the house.
As the water rose, Tanya, 2 dogs and 4 children called for help, climbing onto the kitchen table.
And hope and prayed that someone would come. But, yeah, they didn't.
Sewage backed up through the house.
Yeah, I feel a bit shaken up today, a bit sick.
Tanya's uninsured and has nowhere to go. The member for Kawana is trying to help affected residents.
So there's the high tide mark. You can see how far the water's come up.
Matt Hold also isn't insured.
Everything that's stored in the garage, cactus and the back bedroom.
It's the first time in 26 years that John and Ida Nordkamp's Nicklin Way home has flooded.
Water's inside already.
The 83-year-old captured the drama on camera, passing cars, pushing in waves of water.
We have to find another bed for 2 nights of 3 nights, maybe, I don't know.
The Nordkamps consider themselves lucky. They're covered by insurance. Jennifer Nichols, 7 News.